Fig fam. All right, I did something nutty. I've neglected fig cuttings. Check it out. These have been sitting in my garage for like months. See the moisture in them though? Will they grow? And I think yes. Here's this bag. I've been ignoring it. If you look, you see the buds? If you look, I don't even know if you can see it. There are roots in there. I ignored a bag of cuttings. We're going to open them today and we're going to try to propagate them. They are a bag of cuttings that I left in my garage since this spring because it was refrigerator temperatures out here. And then when it warmed up, I didn't have time. I've been a little busy. Easiest propagation method, you put them in a humid bag and you throw them in a warm spot and see what happens. Let's open this bag up, guys. To the greenhouse! Via my kitchen and living room, now sunroom. Okay, here we are. All right, fig fam. Let's go out to the greenhouse. Let's see if we can't propagate these cuttings that I ignored for 2 months in my garage. What? Greenhouse, here we are. Tripod set up now. All right, fig fam. Opening up the bag of ignored cuttings. Ignored cuttings. I'm not kidding you. We got bud growth. We have roots starting to come out. Sometimes it's as easy. Look, there's roots in here. Yep, they're damaged now because I've been ignoring them. We got roots. What I'm going to do is I'm going to soak these. I have to go to work. I got to do my other career opportunities that I like to pursue. And we're going to come back later today after I let them soak a little bit. And we are going to pot these up and I'm going to see my success rate. I'm going to count up how many cuttings are just in this bag alone. I have 4 other bags in the garage that we can attempt to look at. But we got to go over this because this kind of goes back to like if you have a nice thick cutting like this with nice lignified wood. These are Celeste, which are really easy to propagate. If anybody wants to practice propagating, get a Celeste tree. They're really tasty. But look, I ignored it for months. There is some mold on some of these that we'll just have to scrub off. There's a variety of applications that you can apply to it, but this is no joke. And that just goes to show there's more potential in here. Imagine had I done this in a more, whether I was using sand, whether I was using my coconut coir perlite mix, there's some great potential here. So let's fill up the water, guys. I can't believe it. Some of them have nothing. You know what, we're just gonna try to propagate them. I may have to prune off some of these moldier bits. But if I take the moldy top off, look how viable that wood is. It was sitting at room temperature. So this is just a testament, guys. Not rocket science, just repeated practice. Look at that. It's all in there. And I am just going to take off all the moldy parts. This one's not even moldy, really. Because you still see in that cambium layer, that bright green. Months, guys. We're back, Fig Fam. It's the evening. And I have a pile of cuttings that I'm sorting through from the garage where I neglected them. They're all Celeste. I know they are. And I had these fig cuttings sitting for a day and a half now. I attempted to rehydrate some of these cuttings and they have buds that are swollen on them. So I'm hopeful. Like, let's take a look. Mind you, in the garage for months, plural. Look at these Celeste cuttings. Now, I'm hedging myself that these are Celestes and they are quite easy to root. Same with brown turkeys. There are a few other varieties that are just easier to root than others. I wouldn't recommend doing this type of behavior with, you know, your Col de Dames, your Black Madeiras, your enter rare varieties, Nuestra Senoras, things like that. But with Celestes, and you want to practice growing cuttings, put them through the ringer. I'm going through here and see these thick ones that are like almost, they're 2 years old. You can tell because of their grade wood. They're beyond that basic lignified state. Some of them are completely dried up. That's completely dried up. It's not worth our time. So what I've learned about these cuttings is that they start burning their own energy when they decide to kickstart into growth mode. And they only have a finite amount. The best way to get their energy back isn't through basic photosynthesis, it is putting out their roots first and working together with the leaves secondary. Otherwise, if they put out their leaves, they will just live on reservoirs of probably your lipids, carbohydrates, aminos, and sugars until they can no longer sustain themselves, and then they die off, which is why it's really crucial to get those roots started, which is why you can hedge yourself with rooting hormone. Anyway, I have these cuttings. I have leftover wet potting mix. It's probably too wet, but it's perlite and coconut coir. That's just been outside. Beautiful evening. Look at these happy figs. And we're going to see if they grow. So let me put you on a tripod and let's do this together, guys. All right, fig fam. We're also seeing the end of this table. It is slanted in. I stepped on it, so that didn't do it any favors. But I think we got to upgrade the workbench here. But I have these soaking, rooting hormone. So here's what we're doing. We're neglecting the crap out of these fig cuttings. We're seeing how bad it gets. And then we're going to try to bring it back. Bring it back and do all the best tricks in the book. Soaking them for a day, getting them rehydrated, adding rooting hormone when we score the bark. And then we are going to put them in these tight trays, which are really cool. Look at these seed trays. They're 5 inches by 2 inches. They're in the grow. If you want some, check out my store. I actually have them like right on the Instagram store, or I don't know if I have them on philsfigs.com, but if you go to In the Grow, they're there. And if you want a discount, use Phil10. Easy peasy. But they're really durable too. But anyway, I digress. They're really good at getting good soil compaction. And when you have well-draining soil, which is what we want, we're using that perlite mix with coconut coir. It has been sitting out just like outside in the rainstorms. I think it'll do it some good. Maybe throw some nitrogen in it. But we're just winging this. We're going as basic as can be. I prune them, and with the viable, like look at that. It's still green. We're going to go with it. Let me score the bark real quick. If I score the bark, oh, see? We're still good. It has potential. Sometimes I do this right up to the base of these nodes. See these lenticles here? You see the lignified wood, and then you see the green cambium layer. So we're golden with this cutting. I'm going to plant this cutting, and I'm going to be hopeful. Look at that. Boop. It's going to go in here. It's going to grow into a fig tree. After living in my fridge for a few months, then me throwing it in the garage for a few months, debating whether I was going to use it or not. But it's bendable in a really good way. It's green, so maybe the soaking of a day and a half worked. Same with this one here. It actually did this on its own. I'm hopeful that these thicker cuttings will do the job. It actually started to push out a little bit right here. You can see these little white bumps where those lenticles where the roots want to start growing. So we're going to run with this, guys. We're going to see what we can do. And they're not going to stay in the greenhouse. They're going to stay outside in a shady area because this greenhouse gets too hot. I'm pushing it with these cuttings behind me. These have been in the greenhouse. Also an experiment. Seltzer water. And they're not getting great success. It might be just getting too hot in here, guys. So this is also an experiment. And this is probably me starting a plant nursery, trying to find out not where the best spot is, but what I can get away with where I don't want to have to forego the entire square footage of my greenhouse, where maybe I can push the limits of what I can grow through different methods, through different practices. So the experimentation continues. All right, I got my Clonex, and here is another. You can't drench it in Clonex and expect it to work. You can get your handy dandy paintbrush, which I borrowed indefinitely from my children, and they're super cool about it, which is amazing. And I'm just gonna brush this on. I let it dry a little bit first. Oop, there's a mosquito on me. They only bite me every day here. So I've now brushed it on, and that's all. Just a nice brushing all along that cambium layer. But I'm gonna do this a bunch of times. We can speed this up, and I'm gonna try to successfully root these. Let's do it. Also, I've neglected this pile of old rooting mix. There's a dead cutting in it, so there's mold in here. We're just going from the bottom of the barrel for making this work. This video should be titled, How Not to Root a Fig. Oh, geez. So I filled this full of mix that's just been sitting outside. It's old mix from cuttings that didn't make it. Like, I am really just bottom of the barrel, guys. I'm putting this cutting in here, all the way at the bottom, nice and snug. So this is too funny. You can tell right off the bat, like these older, lignified, thicker pieces of wood are just going to kick butt. They are just going to kick butt. But because they started doing all this potential growing in the garage, I'm going to put them in the shadiest spot that I have. I don't even need to let it dry that much because I'm chasing sunlight. And I want to do this as rough as possible to show you what fig cuttings are capable of. And I mean that in the easiest varieties possible. The ones that you hear stories about from grandparents just throwing them in the dirt. We're going to see the success rate. We're going to see if we pull any rabbits out of a hat here. Any cutting that has been kicked butt has been a thicker cutting every time. Not saying that they all don't root, but the ones that are nice and thick and from a healthy tree come out swinging when they wake up. All right, we did it, Fig Fam. All right. Here's my tray of cuttings I've neglected in a tray of rooting mix that I have neglected. So there might be some, stuff I don't necessarily want my figs exposed to when I create those wounds in here. So we're gonna see. Snug. Despite having nice porous soil, you want it snug. If there's any excess, it'll be rinsed off with the hose when I give it a nice douse for some fresh water. All right. Is it gonna root? Kind of looks okay. I don't know. We'll see. Let's give it a rinse. Let's put it in a cozy spot and see if we can remediate the neglect on these cuttings when they haven't been stored properly, right? So we'll see. All right, guys. That actually doesn't look half bad, does it? For being cuttings I've totally forgotten about. Well, let's go put them in a shaded spot. Put these cuttings in the shaded canopy of these figs. Who knows? Maybe these will be fig trees. Put them around all the good positive vibes of these figs. And as you can see here, it's nice and canopied among these trees because even though these buds shot out, they could not endure any sort of direct sun. So let's let them wake up. Let's see if we can get some figs out of these neglected fig cuttings. So the sun's setting. I got to check on my family. If you like this content, hey, like, subscribe, reach out with questions and comments. I love to interact with you guys. Really appreciate you joining me on this journey, Fig Fam, starting a fig tree nursery in my backyard. All right, take care, Fig Fam.